Hey, what's up, everybody? Shinwo here. We're geeking out, bringing you the latest and greatest in comics, games, toys, and tech. And no, this is not New Comic Book Day. Actually, it is New Comic Book Day. That'll be in a separate video coming soon. But today I wanted to talk about something near and dear to my heart. But joining me on this special podcast is my brother in arms, Alexlexus from New Gaming Order. How are you, sir?
No, I ain't. Yes, I am. What's going on?
Yeah, he's feeling the brunt of the news that dropped yesterday. And we're just gonna jump right into it. So if
I
you
got
had,
something to say.
yeah, you know, you're gonna have the floor in a few.
No, I was just saying that.
Yeah. So now, as everybody knows, San Diego Comic Con, it has been ruled in their favor by the U.S. District Court judge. Is an order on an injunction has enjoined Salt Lake from Comic Con and Comic Con and any phonetic equivalents. For example, you can't use Comic Con or Comic Con with a K. It has been ruled in San Diego Comic Con's favor that they have trademarked the term Comic Con, which is already short for Comic Convention. People have been up in arms. I will share my thoughts after Alex goes, but I'm just gonna read the article that I found from Geek Tyrant, and then Alexlexus will have the floor. So it says, U.S. District Court Judge Anthony Battaglia, probably botched his name, but anyway, in his order on an injunction has enjoined Salt Lake from Comic Con and Comic Con and any phonetic equivalents. Additionally, Farr and Brandenburg can't operate any social media site that incorporates the trademark, nor can they even advertise how the festival they run was formerly known as Salt Lake Comic Con. The judge has also ordered that SLCC, or better known as Salt Lake Comic Con, defendants to pay almost $4 million in attorneys' fees and costs. Well,
what?
It's important to note that this is not the first battle San Diego Comic Con has brought to the table, but they all were waiting to see how this battle played out. Now that San Diego Comic Con has won, I assume other comic conventions are scrambling to change their names to avoid legal problems, which there was one already that changed it yesterday, and I'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. Salt Lake Comic Con changed their name to Fan X Salt Lake Comic Convention a while ago after the battle started, so at least they have their new name picked. Do you think San Diego Comic Con should be able to coin such an iconic term? Alexlexus, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Now, I know Shinwar and I were discussing some of this yesterday where, initially the origins of the San Diego Comic-Con event was a non-profit event that started in the late 70s, correct?
1970. Actually, no, 1970.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, if it started with something that was non-profit, and when you're putting a trademark on something, obviously you're trying to garner some sort of revenue from it. Mm-hmm. So the founding fathers of the event, they're long gone, obviously. And I guess the new folks are mainly our generation, late 30s, early 40s, greed mongers, and with that, now that they have trademarked Comic Con, which has been, I believe the ripple effects will affect Rhode Island Comic Con, New York Comic Con, and
it's anything named Comic Con that has the Comic Con in it.
Now, the right now it kind of stings because the sense of normalcy will go away, But I think this is a time for all the other conventions to come up with another name and let San Diego have its thing, mm-hmm. and build something else as a result, because that was sheer greed. And then that's something that's like, because I saw somebody unsubscribed yesterday because I was going after Sony, but this is similar to something that the Sony corporation would do. It's like, well, damn, like they're going for the jugular, and it's like, hey, they let Comic-Con become such a big name, and then they reeled it in. Mm-hmm. The judge taking something like the English language You know what I mean? And saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna have them trademark parts of the English language. I have an issue with that. Remember when Sony was trying to trademark what was it? Something like gaming. It was a term and Sony ultimately lost because of that. You cannot trademark certain sayings or conjugations or any abbreviations, per se of the English language to profit from. And in doing that, that's what reminded me of what Sony was trying to do, and and their failed attempt. Something about the term gaming. I'm trying to remember.
Let's not bring Sony into this.
No, it's an example that when you let corporations get away with this. Now, what's to say another convention won't start doing the same? Once they allow that to happen, now everybody's going to start doing it. And again, the biggest thing, they allowed it for so long and built this, the vernacular of a Comic-Con. And now they're going to be exclusively owners of that term. You know what I mean? I believe that they should be sued from whatever, forthcoming revenue that they got because of how Rhode Island Comic-Con helped build that name. New York Comic-Con helped build that name. Well, it wasn't just them, even though that they came up with it.
All right.
It's like, okay, you're in a board meeting and you own a company and then you help build that name. And then all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to kick you guys out and I'm going to take it for myself. That's what, in essence, they did.
Yeah. And I think hold on. Here's a thing. Like, there's something I found out earlier today that 6 years prior to San Diego Comic-Con doing their thing in 1970, in 1964, there was a New York Comic-Con. I just found that out today. In 1964, and it was coined Comic-Con in 1964. I don't know what happened with that. But I did some research and that did come up. But I think
you know what? I gotta look that up.
With the popularity, San Diego is dubbed really the first. Now, fast forward to today, those are the two biggest ones, San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. And I'm really curious to see what ReedPop is going to do, because not only does ReedPop is the organization behind New York Comic-Con, but they're also the organization behind C2E2, Chicago Expo. And I've noticed there's a lot of organizations that are they're putting the expo in it. So like you'll have New Jersey Comic Expo. And this one, what is this? This is Fan X Salt Lake Comic Convention. So I mean, a lot of people may just use the actual full term comic convention, but it's like, it's too long to say. Comic-Con is quick. When you say Comic-Con, okay, boom, hey, I'm going to Comic-Con, and then most people will be like, well, which one? Because there's the state or the city behind it. But what San Diego wanted was, when you mention Comic-Con, they wanted to be directly referred to them.
That was petty. That's petty. I'm sorry, man. Like, I was making jokes last night about this, but when I'm trying to pull some research on this, San Diego made it big, but like you said, what was it, 1964?
There was a New York Comic-Con.
Now, if New York wanted to, they can get San Diego the same way that San Diego got Salt Lake City. You know what I mean? Like I said, it can be like a Texas tornado triple threat match type thing going on with that, because it's like, really, like what? It was a good thing for so long. How much revenue did San Diego Comic-Con lose by Salt Lake City calling it a Comic-Con? It's like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna sue Toyota because they're calling their stuff a car when Nissan called their stuff a car too." It is what it is. It is what it is. It's a comic book convention. What's the problem?
And now there was something when you and I talked earlier, since they trademarked it, the term Comic-Con. Now, what if they want to license it out? Now they're going to get paid if other organizations want to use the term Comic-Con.
And that goes back to my first point, where if it was initially started as a nonprofit event,
Hmm.
And if they do go that route with, licensing it out and all that other stuff, you think Reed Pop and all these other places are going to pay for that? They're like, screw that. I foresee that they're going to come up with another name. I'm pretty sure, like a council, they're going to leave them like the odd people out,
Hmm.
right? And then say, hey, you know what? Screw you guys. We're going to build something bigger. And then they can have the name Comic Con. Because
Well, mhm.
we're in that microwave society, ADD society. The turn of the trends are very quick. We're used to it. We've been going for over 10, like, what is it? It's since
uh,
2010.
we're going
So
on 8 years.
yeah. So with that, it's like, okay, once we hit the decade, that's one thing, but I'm sure that they'll have an opportunity to build something bigger, badder than ever.
Yeah, now some other news that I found out. Initially, this legal battle was between San Diego and Salt Lake City. So it was pretty much just a one-on-one battle, and San Diego was like, "Well, hey, we don't want Salt Lake to use the name." And there's actually more behind it. The reason they didn't want them to do it because the people behind Salt Lake City Comic Con were promoting their event at San Diego Comic Con.
Oh, like
That's
soliciting that's
yeah,
foul.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and that's fine. I understand it if San Diego didn't want Salt Lake to use the name, but don't penalize the other
Everybody.
organizations that may have it all around, the country. I mean, even if you look at was it Wizard World? That's a Comic Con, but they don't use the name. It's just Wizard World. So, that's to them, and we know that. But if you have something as big as New York Comic Con, like that's a staple, and San Diego has never had an issue with that because when we say New York Comic Con, we will say New York Comic Con, so people know that it's in New York. But I think, and it's been stated in numerous articles that San Diego wants it to be, when you mention Comic Con, that it's referred to San Diego Comic Con. And I just don't think the other organizations should be penalized. I mean, hey, last night, East Coast Comic Con, which I went to in Secaucus this past April, they changed their name on their social media and they put up a post saying, "We have now changed our name to East Coast Comic Convention." Come on.
Now, let me tell you,
And that's quick.
when we've gone to New York Comic Con, I've had people come up to me with flyers for WinterCon and all this other stuff, like promoting other things. And it's
Yeah.
like, what's the problem? It's a fanship or fandom, you
Yeah.
know. Believe it or not, you have people who attend both or all three, or even the subsidiary conventions. So when you see at the top how corporations are so greedy and they're just like, yeah, mine, mine, mine. Okay, fine. They can have it. My advice to them is huddle together, screw them over, and be like, okay, you can have Comic Con. And when the name is not worth anything, then they're going to try to say, hey, you know what, let's kind of work something out. And then you can leave them out in the cold, just like crossplay.
And that's a good point. And what's interesting is, the actual term Comic Con, not for nothing, but both New York and San Diego is more of a pop culture and not an actual Comic Con. The actual comic, the books, the comic books that it's supposed to be referencing to is actually pretty much at the bottom of the list. And so you do have actual Comic Cons where it's more focused on comic books. And so, like New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con, and I've never been to Salt Lake City Comic Con, but the two biggest ones in the U.S. is San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con, and it's pop culture. It's not just comic books. I mean, they have video games, and obviously, about like movies and TV shows and anything pop culture related. I just don't think that. I think Comic Con it's short for comic convention. It should be used by anybody.
Yeah, and actually, I had thought that they were all related, but they're all independently ran and
Yeah.
owned. So, that was a learning thing for me. I was kind of disappointed to see kind of where we are going as a society, where you got folks trying to, do something like that. And I get it. If somebody felt salty about, Salt Lake City advertising, I think that they should have been barred from advertising at their event to go to their convention, but not outright take something out of the English language and just but then again you got folks that get, let's say they were making a t-shirt line or whatever, but
Hmm.
the fact that they went as far and any references you can't say formerly known as and all that, that's greedy.
And I was
That
just
that that's foul.
I was just gonna bring that up, and it's like they can't even use formerly known as Salt Lake Comic Con. Like, dag, it's like you're trying to erase it from out of existence. No social media site that incorporates the trademark. It's like San Diego now owns it.
Now, like I said in a prior statement, there should be a countersuit for helping to build the name Comic Con from the other events. Okay, you can have it, but whatever revenue or the notoriety of that name to being built by the
Hmm.
others, they should get some sort of reparations for that for at least the next 5 years, and then they can their contributions to helping Comic Con become a thing, it should be rectified, because that is wrong.
Yeah,
Because if they all help build that name, and then all of a sudden now only one guy has access to it, that's foul. That's foul. I think that the people who are running that, and that you said it best. It was just against Salt Lake City,
yeah.
but now everybody paid for it.
Everybody paid for it. Yeah,
But playing devil's advocate, like Salt Lake City could have played their cards a little bit better. Maybe some sort of communicating. Like, we've had times where we were running tournaments, and somebody would come to our event and start saying, "Hey, come to our tournament." Me and my cousin, I believe we were at the Brunswick Zone running one of the Street Fighter events with Rod Lane, and I pulled the guy to the side and said, "Hey, look, I don't have an issue with you trying to advertise, but come talk to me first."
yeah,
you
yeah.
know so at least if it works out for the both of us, we can have a long-term partnership. I think that I see that maybe they felt disrespected, San Diego, and Salt Lake City was just like, they're not as big as San Diego Comic Con. They're not big as New York or Rhode Island, so they're trying to find some ways to advertise. I get it, but I think that at the root of it, it was a communication issue between all parties involved, and the damage was too great to the other folks, because that's why I'm upset about it, because they help contribute to the name Comic-Con, and San Diego is gonna reap the rewards of this for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate. I've seen posts on social media where people are like, they're pretty much gonna boycott San Diego Comic Con. They just
Oh, is
won't
that
go.
right?
Yeah, I've seen numerous people. And you know what's crazy though? Like, um, what was I gonna say? Oh, like I tried to go. I think last year. Like, one, it's hard to get in. Like, it's a lottery to try to get in. Like, and I'm like, New York, it's easy. They let you
Hmm.
know when the tickets go on sale. You have to have a profile, and we're only
Yeah.
referencing New York because we're in the tri-state area. So you're able to just buy tickets or whatever. Hopefully they don't sell out. But with San Diego, it's more so like you have to be picked just to purchase a ticket. I'm like, like, do I want to go through all that trouble? So
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. I know people that have gone, especially have gone to San Diego Comic Con, and they'd enjoyed it. I mean, hey, I would like to go one day, but you know what? If I don't, it's fine. It's
It
like,
was on the bucket list until this, for
yeah,
me at least. And seeing as they went that route, um I just hope that if the folks are going to boycott, San Diego, um, it is what it is. From other companies making silly mistakes like that, and it's showing to be anti. I don't know if it's anti-consumer or whatever, or anti patron going over there, but I just think that it's very petty. It makes San Diego look bad. Like, it's
yeah.
just like, damn, business is business. But again, I'm holding them to the fire. Nonprofit to start, and then, well, I mean, how was it hurting San Diego to share the name?
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, in the article here, it talks about. Let me just find it real quick. It says the judge also ordered Salt Lake City Comic Con defendants to pay almost 4 million in attorney fees and costs. It's like, yo, like you're trying to bankrupt these guys. Like
Mhm.
it's yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? I had made a joke where, for those of you like who understand how you got smaller companies or smaller events or entities trying to make a name for themselves. And, they're not doing anything illegal. There was no law in place that said that they couldn't use the English language or a term. But, you know, with the way that legislation and how people can use the law, it's just like that small company that was running emulators on a disk on a particular systems. The judges were ruling in favor of the blame company, but it was the lawsuits and all that actually shut them down.
Yeah.
So like what's going on with Salt Lake City now, all the legal fees, damages, all that they got to pay, that's almost as if we're gonna shut you down.
Yeah, it
You
hurts.
know,
It hurts.
yeah, it's like, come on, they're getting hit with total elimination, ECW style. Like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I just think that it was like, let's say Salt Lake City has financial issues and they no longer run it for
Right.
years. The people in the Salt Lake City area, they're the ones that are going to suffer. And then, you got San Diego Comic Con folks like Vince McMahon laughing in the background, like, ha 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 ha, like, really? Like,
Hmm.
it just, I just think that it could have been handled a little bit differently. And I'm curious to see as to how much San Diego Comic Con will benefit from this financially, because
Well,
it's all about more money, more money.
yeah, I'm really curious to see what Repop does. I mean, Repop is pretty big. You know, they have New York Comic Con and C2E2 in Chicago, and I'm pretty sure some other endeavors. So I want to see how that's going to work out. I hope New York Comic Con keeps the Comic Con in it. So I don't know. We'll see what it works out. But yeah, that's just our thoughts and opinions. Is there any lasting words that you want to share, Alexlexus, to the people?
Well, oh, by the way, shout out to the new Game and Order Army. If you guys get to check it out, but I want to say all the old Comic Con passes and memorabilia, T-shirts, and all that stuff could potentially become collector's items. I have all of my passes for the last few years. I collect them. Once we are done, I put them up on my wall. You know, um, I just think that they went too far with saying that, oh, we are formally known as Comic Con. That's really like Shinsuke doing the low blow on people. You know what I mean? And I'm about to make like a meme and have San Diego as freaking Shinsuke Nakamura and Salt Lake
Salt Lake
City
is
as
AJ
AJ
Styles.
Styles. I'm like, come on, man! Like,
Yeah,
what?
that's terrible.
I feel that they're maiming the other events. They're
Yeah.
maiming the other events. But again, my last thing I'm gonna say is the other groups create a universal council. Like a committee, and just say, hey, you know what? Let's come up with a name, even though we run independently, but let's make a name that's going to unify us because of the common interest, the common pop culture, comics, movies, games, toys, and tech. Stealing Shinwar's catchphrase. But I just think that was very low down. I think it was too aggressive.
Yeah.
And it was in poor taste. Whoever is listening to this broadcast after it airs, just I'm pretty sure there's going to be folks that agree with San Diego. There's going to be a lot of folks that agree with the other group. But consider this. We are all, it was cool to have it under one umbrella because we're all universal. And now you're trying to split people up, and I just think it was wrong. That's all I got. The man, the myth, the juggernaut. Ha!
Yeah, like I remember like Newark Comic Con when it was down in downtown Newark, and like I believe they did it 2 years, and then like it was just boom gone. So you'll have the big ones like you mentioned, Alex, but then what about like the small ones?
The big buns. Well,
But yeah, it's just I disagree with San Diego. I mean, they were a juggernaut already. Like they shouldn't be. I'm not gonna say they shouldn't be concerned, but if the battle was between them and Salt Lake, just keep it between them and Salt Lake. Everybody else shouldn't have to be penalized for it. So,
but the fact they gotta pay money though, and they can't even. It's like, damn, they got fired and they gotta start all over.
Yeah. But that's it. Just wanted to share my thoughts on it with Alexlexus. So that's all we got. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back with more. Catch you guys later. Peace.